probably a few thousand times in our life, because this is a very popular story. Yeah, in Luke 8, 40 to 48, about the woman with the issue of blood. And, I always wondered certain things about that, and about the who touched me, about the hem of the garment, about her being afraid, him, as the disciples told him, like, man, you got many people around you. Everybody, how you know this one person? Those things that, hearing this story my whole life, I never had those things answered. The story just go on and on. They just talk about the woman with the blood and this and that. But there's some significant points that's being made here, and some things that could be pointed out if you look at what's being said and why, and like first, they was talking about, let's deal with this first before we get with the woman, the issue of blood. It's a young girl, Jairus' daughter. And Jairus was the leader in a synagogue. What is a synagogue?
Church. This is the place where they go and worship God.
Okay, so if the synagogue is a church, if a place is a place where they go worship God, and you the leader of that church, shouldn't you have taken some kind of action against your daughter's sickness, like if it was prayer or whatever? Why would you think that Jairus would look outside of Jairus' self to accomplish what was accomplished with his daughter? Did that question make sense?
Yeah. In a sense, what I think you are saying is, why did Darius call upon Jesus to come in? Because I feel Darius really didn't feel as though that he could heal his daughter or stop her from dying. That Jesus probably had power where she could have lived. Because that's what it says, his daughter was dying, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I want to go back to something, but we're getting off the subject.
What? No, what?
Okay, you asked what was the synagogue, and you say the church. But I always said that we was the church. Why they call these buildings the church? That's what confused me. We are the church.
Because they don't want you to know that you are powerful. If they tell you, see, mainstream religion, they're not in business to make you powerful. They're in business to make you feel powerless. Because if you feel powerful, then you don't need them. You don't have to depend on them. But if you feel powerless, then you'll always go to them. And they know that they don't have no more nothing than you have.
Yeah, right.
And this is why I posed this question about Jairus, even though there's Jesus. But if Jairus was the leader of the synagogue, that means he's the leader of many people.
Right. So he should have gone to God and asked God.
Exactly.
But them two together, who's the power inside of him of energy to heal his daughter. But he didn't feel he had the power to do that.
Yeah, I also think that it's, and nowadays you would call promotion. So you got Jesus out there, right? Now other synagogues or other Pharisees or whatever you want to call them, he had been into those buildings where there was, they didn't accept him to be like that in Jesus. Okay. And so now in order to give him more power, it shows, okay, so he, again, he goes to, he had this encounter with this guy who's supposed to be the leader. This leader falls down to his knees where he saves my daughter. So now they had power to name Jesus even more. Because because somebody who is a leader of a church or building or whatever that entity is now bowing down to him. So now that promotes him even higher as this being that does these things. Okay, but we're clear in the Bible, biblically speaking, where it said that whatever Jesus does, you can do.
Yes.
But again, my other thing.
But they didn't have that information. You have to remember this information that we privy to was being
written.
lived. It wasn't even written then. It was being lived. So they going on. They like living. They winging it.
Right, they're winging it.
Yes.
I'm going about how the story.
No. Yeah.
Right, and so in order to really push the reputation of Jesus, you got to show him doing things
Yeah. Beyond
what you call it, and that brings me to a point where I hear people always holler about, well, that's a miracle. Well, according to the Bible, if you can do any and all things, and God can do any and all things, why is this a miracle? Why is it unbelievable that it can be done?
because again, you're not taught to think from a maximist perspective.
Right.
You're always taught to think from a needy.
Yeah, needy.
Everything that's good is outside of me. I have, it's like he because he have a title. This point
He's better.
because he have a title, he's closer to God. So you taught all this foolishness. Because I had somebody try to tell me, he was like, God talked to bishops different. I said, really? Because one day he asked me why I didn't do this. I said, because God didn't tell me to do it. He looked at me like God don't speak to me. He looked, because see, I supposed to be in this slave box.
Yeah.
But I was coming out of that box then, and I know that God talks to each of us individually. And I know,
Ways.
I know how God says that my desire is to live in the inward part of you. And so you can't tell me that the new covenant, you always talk about the new covenant, but what the new covenant is, God inside of you. He said, I'm going to be your God, you're going to be my people. I'm going to live inside of you. And he also said, I'm going to forgive you your sins and remember your iniquities no more. Last night in the Wi-Fi, me and this guy, I was talking to this young girl, and this white guy, he jumped in, with all his traditional stuff. And I'm like, yeah, Then I started sitting down with him, and he was doing more listening than talking, because I was sending it to him. And I was telling him scripture, and he looking. And then I had to tell him what it was, but I know what I'm talking about. But he was going on the traditional enslavement.
Right.
Even he was white, but white people are enslaved too. And that's what I was telling him. He was talking about he can't vote for Democrat. I said, it don't matter, Democrat, Republican, they still don't care about you. If you're in that top 1%, you just fooling yourself.
There's always have been a hierarchy going on, and the way you control people, what's the thing? Pyramid, and people always talk about a pyramid scheme and all that other stuff, right? But at the top of that pyramid, right, there's one block or one tiny pyramid, right? That everything below it supports it, right? And so that 1% you were talking about that control things, okay, so now we're gonna go down to the Democrats and the Republicans. Okay, those are blocks. Then we're gonna break it up into senators, congressmen, representatives, those are blocks. Then we're gonna break it up into states and all the other stuff, governors and all that stuff, those are blocks, right? So we're standing at the top of, we can't be this, but when it's the same one thing at the top that controlling everything. Democrats, Republicans, all the same coin, just different sides. And so it's amazing how the two things that control this country and people's lives, people say they don't want to talk about it, they want to debate, which is religion and politics. But those are the things that everything is governed off of. And it's not money. The money is what keeps us blinded. It's control of manpower.
Yeah, it's power, but they use money to control you.
They use religion to control.
They
the
use
children.
religion, but I was trying to, I was give the young girl, but I was telling him I'm not gonna fool with her because she's 22. She thinks she know everything. So she talking about she started her own. I'm gonna leave her alone. But I gave her a little script. I said, here, read the study show, because he asked me what I said, study show yourself approved before God, not man. But work need not to be ashamed. I had right to right. He said, well, Paul said, I said, yeah, and Paul. Well, no, God, no, Paul didn't say it. I said, yes, he did. I said, Paul wasn't writing scripture. He was writing letters.
Yeah.
He was writing letters of instruction and of encouragement.
Yeah.
That's all that was.
Right.
Then white folks took that and put it together.
Yeah.
And because Paul wrote basically from a male domineering perspective.
Right.
Women don't have no position. Women, you wait till you go home and ask your husband. This a man's world and all this stuff. So this the agenda the white man was pushing. So this Eunice, I just learned this 2 years ago, maybe 3 years, and I've been preaching 20 years, and I just learned this. I just saw it. I just saw all this time, all these educated Negroes with doctorates and stuff calling themselves the Gentile. And the Bible is clear that the Gentiles are the Europeans. When you look in the Bible show it to you. All this time you're looking there, you can see. But let me tell you something. See, when you indoctrinated, when your brain is controlled by somebody else, they even control how you process thought and everything. And you look in the Bible, the New Testament is Romans, Colossians, stuff like that. All that's European countries. Mm-hmm. So Paul was supposed to be apostle to the Europeans. Now, here's the deal. God never gave Europeans the authority to be ministers. Mm-hmm. Never. Not to today. And so this is where all your mix-up coming in now. This is why they push Paul so hard. And so when I start seeing that, now there's a lot of things that Paul wrote I like. But as far as, I was with that chauvinistic stuff too. I ain't gonna lie, because I thought that's what it was. But now he can tell you, I'm on that thing. Now the men get mad because I talk about the black woman being the Nubian queen, the mother of civilization, the giver of life. But it's the truth. Mm-hmm. These people have taken and poisoned our brains. I went to the prison yesterday to see my nephew, Angola. And so I was talking to this brother. I said, man, a couple of years ago, we figured out we have to deprogram and reprogram. And another brother behind him, he was liking that, He said, what did I say? And he said, man, tell me one more time. I said, you have to deprogram and reprogram, brother. I said, because everything that we was taught is tainted. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We was taught very little truth and most lies that fit in under that little bit of truth, and they just stretched it as far as they could stretch it. He said, man, thank you. He said, I'm, in prison now. Dude in prison. Don't know him, but he was listening. Mm-hmm. I was sending it out because I'm telling no religion. Y'all with all that religion, man, that's all enslavement. Yeah. Now, spirituality, obviously, if I didn't believe in spirituality, we wouldn't be sitting at this table. Exactly. So don't get it twisted. But people try to connect religion and spirituality as if it's one and the same, and it's not. No. As if they co-joined and all that. It's not. Religion it had, the initiation of religion had good intention. But once man... Hell, the initiation of government had good intention. But once man get his hands on it, and man's mind is tainted, and I don't care how much you like God, and that's why I told that white boy, I said, let me tell you something. I'm clear, or the white man, I'm clear that 95% of me is good, but 5% of me I'm suspect of. I told him that. I said, see, y'all, you talking that you have to negate for the human experience. But he was saying, Jesus said, my God, why have thou forsaken me? That's when he took on. I said, no, that's when, he felt the pain of sin, so-called. So they say. So the pain of sin was felt. And he like, man, it's painful. So now God knows what people go through in the flesh. So now God gonna punish you from going through something that you have no control over? Nah, I said, but he said, so you saying that you not a sinner no more? I said, no. And I said, because I'm going to say, let me tell you something. Jesus tell God, he said, I'm not asking you to take them out of the world, but take the world out of them. Sanctify them with thy word, for thy word is true. Once you sanctify, you set apart. You're not a sinner no more. You was a sinner saved by grace. Now, the Bible said, where sin abound, grace even more abound. Took me a minute to get him to see that because he was a prisoner in his brain. He was a slave. And so I said, no, where sin abound, grace even more abound. Because you have to have a renewed mind, a transformed self.
Right.
And so you don't practice, but you gonna. Because the human experience. I don't care how good all of us try to do good. We all live pretty good. The police ain't at our houses every weekend. You see what I'm saying? You know, I can't speak, but I know me and my wife ain't fighting in the house and all that other stuff. So my thing is, so we self-govern. Why? Because we have control over ourselves.
Yeah, you got control over yourself,
Yeah.
not man.
Thank you.
That's what I try to tell people too.
Tell me what sin is.
I told him that too. He didn't like my definition of sin. You know, sin is you being unbalanced. When you unbalanced, you're not in God. So once you balance, that's why I was saying, when you see eat coming up, you step back. When you step up, you step back with a different mindset because you control your destiny. And then once you balance off, you in God. You balance. You move forward. And he looked at me, but he can't comprehend this because to him, the things that, you know, people say, for instance, they say a man having attraction to a woman is sinful. Lust. They lust.
Right.
Now, let's be real. Women look at men and men look at women. And you've been married a long time. I've been married a long time. That's still long because you married don't stop another man from looking good. Now, you ain't gonna mess with him, but he still look good. You see, you know, you ain't gonna mess with her, but she still look good. Yeah.
It's like a plate of food. It still look good.
You're right.
Oh, that look good over there.
Y'all tell me what I can't do, but you can't explain to me what I'm not supposed to be able to do.
Right, but here's the deal. Here's what God showed me this whole week I've been thinking on. Last week, I think I mentioned this. See, these people have so much control. The misinformation machine have so much control over us. Sunshine, hey, beautiful. Elise, Elsa, Bill, how you doing? But anyway, they have so much control over your mind because they tell you all these things, right? Mm-hmm. Now, they say we have free will and choice, that God gave us the right to choose. But then they say, but you have all these laws and commandments. Well, if I have laws and commandments, then I don't have free will and choice.
No choice.
The two don't go with each other. Either I have free will and choice to decide my destiny, or I have these commandments and everything that makes me bounded and imprisoned to that.
So I'm not free. I'm not free will.
Well, but see, the God that they created, the God and the Jesus that they created have the commands and all that, because that's what fatten the fatty calf. See, that's what make people bring money to a distribution center, but it be distributed just to the pastor and his family and a few little cronies, but nobody else. But a real distribution center that focuses on this book as being God's somewhat plan, not God's word, but God, the way that man understood God through their time of living and what they got and how to treat the earth, as we read, how to treat each other, how, you know, to live in sync with the universe. Then that God says that you bring money to the building. You bring money to the building so the church can distribute it amongst the church. Mm-hmm. The people. We saying the church is the people. Yeah. I just spoke that way. I said, no, it doesn't happen in most places. Right. Now, for this to be a small ministry, Charlie don't know, but we get a lot of giving here. We had people, we do a lot of praying, people through, you know, just touch and agree prayer. Mm-hmm. If things have worked out, people send checks and stuff. I'm serious. But that was their own thing, just asking for prayers and stuff. And but the thing is here, I'm not here for money. I'm not. God take good care of me. So them guys have way more than me. But those guys choose to do what the laws of the Mayat and the divine principles told us not to do. Not to take money from the sacred place. The stuff that come in this place is for the community. See, in the 60s and all that, I used to see men all in the neighborhood. They had their own crews. They take the young boys in the summer and help them. They're carpenters, all that stuff, bricklayers, roofers, or whatever.
Exactly, nobody does that anymore.
Yeah, no, because corporations took over, but it was all by design.
Right.
Because now the only thing you can do is teach your child to be their slave.
Yeah.
When people had their own crews, they were showing their children that you don't need the machine.
Right.
You can create your own thing that you could work with, that you can fund yourself, your own lifestyle. Not only can you fund yourself, you can bless people around you. That's what they was doing, looking out for the community. The only way a community is going to survive is the community take care of itself. If you pumping all your money out the community, nothing good going to happen in your community. Thus, what we do, we complain about the conditions of our schools, but we spend $3 trillion a year, and we complaining. So how about we start thinking and start redirecting that God has blessed us with? Because the money is in the black community. It's just spent wrong.
Yeah.
You know, because we'll see, I guarantee you, somebody spent all their money on Mardi Gras and their children going to suffer eating till they get their food stamps, till their check come. Mardi Gras. I mean, Mardi Gras, people used to dress up in the crazy stuff. People ain't had to be all sharp, but they done made such slaves out, these young people. They think that they got to be sharp with expensive stuff on, but Mardi Gras used to be hobo day and all that. Like people used to...
It's a series of robot jeans.
Yeah, some jeans up. People used to have big old stuff, you know, and just masking.
Yeah.
That's what it was all about, masking. It wasn't about spinning yourself crazy, but a slave mind can do nothing but follow desire of the slave machine. So let's bring it back here. So, okay, I started out asking about Jairus and why Jairus felt the need. Now, you can see at this time, okay, Jesus was supposed, Yeshua, Haru, whatever you call him, was around. So, okay, now you got this special anointing, special power. But here's what people didn't get then, and some still don't get to today. I told that guy that yesterday. He looked at me strange. Everything Jesus done, you could do.
Right.
Jesus didn't come to show you what you couldn't do. He came to show you what you could do.
Right.
You already was limited in what you could do. So for that whole story to make any kind of sense, it had to be to show you what you could do. If it's to show you what you couldn't do, then you know the story's a lie.
Yeah.
Because you already knew what you couldn't do. You was already limited in your abilities. You already didn't have confidence in your ability to strive or to do better. So what he needed to come for that for?
Yeah.
So if this story is going to make sense, then I have to see. So I told him, I said, well, according to John 14:12, it says, for those who believe, great works have I done, but yet greater works have they to do. What that's saying? But you have to get it.
Yep.
But see, the memo was not yet sent out, so Jairus didn't know that the same thing that he was doing, he could do if he connect on high.
Right.
So he went in, he healed Jairus' daughter. So, okay, we heard always, and we're in Luke, the 8th chapter, 40 through 48. Those of you on Facebook, if you want to look up, and if you want to post a comment, you can. But when we go into the woman with the issue of blood, I say for 12 years that she had a steady blood flow. She went to all the specialists. She went to everything she could, but nobody could heal her. Mm-hmm. Now, Dr. Rene, he's in Haiti. He's a woman's doctor. And his take on that when we talk about this is she must have had, because he gonna think about it from a doctor perspective,
Right.
some kind of y'all women get
Cycle.
huh.
A monthly cycle.
Yeah, but for 12
Yeah,
years.
but she had a
no,
cycle.
no, yeah, but I'm saying, but what y'all get fibroids or something and all that?
Yeah,
No,
right.
fibroid, and then some women bleed a lot, and then
Bleeding?
so that's what he's saying. That's what he was saying. But in that time, obviously, that technology probably wasn't available. So, but again. So but they say she went to a physician, she went to doctors, she went and she exhausted all her money. She said, no more. I don't have no more money. All I have is my belief.
I would say she believed if she touched that garment, she was going to be.
See, and that's what people make it about the clothing. It wasn't the clothing.
What she believed.
She connected to his energy. That's why he said, who is it that
But
touched
she
me?
zapped him.
And they say, all these people here, you are ex who touch you. He said, no, this is a different touch. See, this wasn't just that touch where, that this was a draining touch. See, somebody pulled some energy. Somebody drained. So you'll hear these preachers saying they drain because they did all that. Now, you got some of them that get out here with their little flow showing and have their little, play where they doing all that, and people coming falling out, all that old foolish stupidness. But if you really touched by God, if you're really anointed by God, if you're really a godly person, then you have energy. And that's why the Bible said, where two or three come together, touch and agree, that God is in the midst. That's how energy flows. Energy have to flow from something to something. You see, because it flows just like electric. When electric strike, it hit something.
Yeah.
Your electric don't stop midair. It have to hit something. Yeah, it have to have a point of contact. And so that's the same thing. You send out electrical vibe. Your word a vibe. You remember Eunice, something had the spirit was telling her to call me and telling me to call her. Now, we hadn't talked in months. Well, I saw you at Rouse's.
Right.
But
We was supposed
outside
to
of that,
talk, but we didn't
outside of that, we hadn't talked. But at the same time, and I think, did you call me? I called you first. Whatever it is. I say, now you won't believe, I swear. But this happens a lot. When you put energy out, that's why the Bible said, my word won't go out and return void. Why? Because word is vibration. Vibration make energy. And so people don't get that what this whole concept is. This is not about you being so better. Nobody better than another, man. Don't let nobody make you think that you inferior to them.
Right.
If you think you're inferior to a man or to any person, then you don't know who you are.
Because I know in the Bible that, I'm one of the people, my whole thing is whatever Jesus did, I cannot do. Because some people get offended to it. But I'm saying just...
The Bible tell you that.
But just that, right? And so, it's the whole thing, well, you're God. You ain't God. I said, well, according to Psalms 82, I am. And I said, now, that same Psalm, this is just biblically speaking now. I got my issue with the Bible. But just based on that, it said I would die as a man, but Jesus died as a man too.
Yeah.
I said, so what's the difference?
But see, because the whole thing's been misrepresented. Mm-hmm. That's why they stopped short of telling you that Jesus had a wife and children.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing was to deceive society, and that if they thought that if he was seen to have a desire for a woman or whatever, then he wouldn't be that pure, that purity that they're passing out. Right. So then these churches mimic, telling a man they can't have a wife, and now you got all these rapes and everything going on. You cannot stop the normal desire that God placed. They say, which I don't believe in Adam and Eve story, I don't no more, but that if you just listen to that story, the second one, not the first one, the real lie, The second one where they say, man, God took a rib out of man. That's crazy. If God would have took a man out of Adam, it would have been Adam and Steve, not Adam and Eve. It would have been Adam and Steve. Yeah, it would have been Adam and Steve, not Adam and Eve. But anyway, so anyway, when you look at that, and it says that Adam was lonely, and God created a woman for him as his companion. So how is it wrong for a man to have a desire for a woman, a woman to have a desire for a man? Go forth, be fruitful, and multiply. What that mean? How to anything multiply? Not just people, animals and everything. How do 2 become 3?
Even insects.
And then 3 become 4, and 4 become 5. How? I mean, let's be real, you know. So these people that introduce homosexuality to the earth, that introduce murder and disease and everything to the earth, telling you we can have all the sex we want, but you can't. Look at the case with Donald Trump. Donald Trump have all these women that stated that he did this. He have been caught on tape. And they still stand behind him and say he their president.
Yeah.
What kind of morals you have? What God do you serve?
And even with the
Because you remember this thing here tell us we have to stand behind the truth.
right.
But go ahead.
Even those big time people like angelical preachers and all that, you out here hooping this man, but everything that you're supposed to be talking about in church, he's the example of the total opposite.
Yeah, but that show you. Man, let me tell you, they know that they created Christianity, Islam, all that stuff to enslave people, to have power over them.
Yep.
And so Christianity never existed, and people hate for me to say that, but I could prove it. The Bible should tell you that. I could show you in the Bible. I showed them, I had to show that, but I showed them. I could show you. In the Bible, I could show you where the Bible say Africans brought God, the way of God, up to Greece. But the black preacher, and I tell you the Greeks say, but the Bible said that Africans brought it to the Greeks. So you should be saying an African say it, because that's where it comes from. That's what the Bible say. That's not me saying it. You understand? Yeah, and so, but the thing is that when you are a slave, you read over things, you see things, but you don't see it. And once God told me not to follow the crowd, and then God started opening my eyes, and I started seeing all these things, I said, wait a minute. Now, these guys are supposed to be way better in the Bible than me. I come out of Roman Catholicism. We didn't know what the Bible was, and blah, 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 blah. And these guys, I said, what Bible they read? Because the things that I see that they accept in society, the way I see they act and all the things, I just don't know what God that they represent. But the God that I read about in this book called the Bible is not the God that I see represented. So I know for about 5 years now, I've been talking about they have a God in the Jesus they created. Yeah. That's the one that they could do all that stuff they're doing. You could be Trump and Pence and stand up there like you're doing something. But this white boy say he can't vote Democrat. And he said one unforgivable thing is to mistreat children. Well, look at how Trump, Pence, and all them mistreating children. But because they're illegal aliens, they deserve, and they think like that. Yeah. But you remember, you was an illegal alien. You just said John Wayne said the Indians was being tight with their land, so they killed them. These people, the King of England sent them over here to populate this place for them, and then they said, shit, taxation without representation, we're going to take this place from the king. But where he made a mistake, he sent a bunch of criminals. Mm-hmm. So you had criminals, still to today, they can be criminal and still run the law. Yeah. Because they created the law. Criminals created the law. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's at home. So when you start talking, we was talking about this, my nephew yesterday, when you start talking about the Constitution, dude, you don't have no rights in the Constitution. The Constitution simply read like this eventually, initially. All white men are created equal. Mm-hmm. And they said, and you was 3/5 human. So you was animals, but that was too harsh. everybody wasn't going to go for that, so then they made you property. And so, like my nephew was talking about, you got the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. Supposedly the 13th Amendment freed you, gave you rights. But then why you would have had to have the 14th if you had rights? Then why you need the 15th if you had rights in the 13th? You don't have rights, you have privileges. Still to today. You don't have the right to vote, you have a privilege to vote. And so, if you don't start learning the truth and start seeking the truth, for you should know the truth and the truth should make you free, then you fall for all this foolishness that you can see clearly in front of you if you're thinking. And you'll be like, damn, I fell for that. That's what I do. I'd be like, damn, I fell for that. I really fell for that. But anyway, I did. So when we look at this woman with this issue of blood, now why was she so afraid? Why was she so afraid? I mean, let's you know, it says that she touched him, and this says she touched the hem of his garment, right? That says she touched the hem of his garment and she was made whole. But then in touching the hem, it says that he said, who touched me? Because he felt that virtue is gone out of me. He felt a great strength. He's something by the pool, because somebody knew that touching in the green would make something happen for them. Who was that? Now, why was she so afraid, though? There was a reason why she was so afraid. Why was she so afraid? She was so afraid because when a woman was on her period, she was deemed, and some people still live like this to today, to be unclean. They have some men won't let their wife sleep in the room with them when she's on her period. She have her period room. Serious. Now, here's what's stupid about that. She couldn't be cleaner. Because when you have your period, you're flushing out all the old and restoring with the new. So again, who came up with that? See, you got to think now. You have to think. And so everything that is, they have you thinking opposite.
And that's where confusion came in.
That's where it come in. And then you're a non-thinker, so you have to think off of what they think, what they're thinking. If the foundation is faulty, unfortunately, I hate to use this as an example, but look at the Hard Rock Hotel. A few shortcuts caused much pain. Two people still up there, man, 4.5 months later. And it's not the city fault. So everybody pointing the finger at Mayor Cantrell. It's not her fault. It's not Mayor Cantrell's fault. It is some of the city fault, the inspectors. Them heads should grow. But anyway. So she really wasn't supposed to be out in the public at a public event. So she could have been stoned to death. Right. So trying to save her life, she could have lost her life. You see? Trying to save her life, she could have lost her life. Because she saved herself from bleeding, but she could have lost her life because she was bleeding. But she had a choice to make. And she said, he have it, I need it, I'm going to get it. Right. And then they say she was afraid when he asked, because if she would have had to answer, she answered in front of everybody. And so the crowd, be mad, especially in a male-dominated society. We see how they still treat women in that region to today. And so she was afraid. But his thing was, he didn't care about none of that. He knew that she had a high level of faith. He knew that she got what he was preaching, what he was teaching. She got it. Most of them people didn't get it. So she got it. But there's one main thing that he said. There's one thing that he said to her, verse 48. Read verse 48.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
And he said unto her, daughter, be of good comfort. Thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace. That's the verse you're talking about, 48.
Yeah, 48.
Okay.
He says, go in peace, but he says something, you use that word. But the Bible say, for without what is impossible to please God.
Faith.
Yeah, where that's at in the Bible, you know?
I don't know none of that. Kick it all in here.
Yeah. It's in Hebrews 11 and 1. No, Hebrews 11 and 6. Hebrews 11 and 1 is the biblical definition of faith. For faith is the substance of things hoped for and evidence of things not seen. So he said, go, for thy faith has made you whole.
Good, yeah, because she had that faith.
But she was trash. She was a sinner. Then she was bleeding. She was dirty. How could her faith make her whole? Everything that we are taught as humans, she didn't present. So how could she be dirty, filthy, sinner, and he can say, go, for your faith has made you whole? How? How could that be? You know, because one have to wonder, again, because when a woman was on her monthly cycle, she was looked at as being unclean. She wasn't even supposed to be in society. She was supposed to stay tucked away. But she out in this big old crowd, she this, she that, good. She afraid that she's going to be stoned to death. Again, she put her life on the line to save her life. That's kind of crazy, but sometimes we get caught up in situations like that. But you know what she did? She trusted God. She God. And she stepped out on so-called faith. And that's why he said, you stepped out and it made you whole. Now, he didn't say I healed you. He said, for thy faith has made thee whole. So let's talk about that for a little while.
So that's back to what we were saying. If you have faith and you believe, then you exercise of, okay, when we talking about Jairus, daughter.
Yeah.
Okay, he didn't believe that he could, but she believed that she could be healed.
No. Oh, yeah, you're right.
That she could be healed.
Yeah, but Jairus didn't think he could, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but he knew that Jesus could. But the difference between what Jairus done and what this woman done is Jairus went straight and just asked him to do it. This woman, she took her action herself.
Because she felt that and she believed that
she believed that if she connect with him, that she was going to be made whole, and she was. But it was her belief that healed her, not his anointing.
No.
And that's what they teach. But you have to believe for anything to work for you. That's why the Bible says, as you think in your heart, so are you. So, and some people think, and so the Bible also say good and evil can't dwell in the same place. And people have jealousy in their heart and all these things, and they think, they wonder why good things don't happen for them. Or people, like we was talking, I think you and I was talking about this on the way to get Eunice, how people think because they have so much of this or so much of that, they think they're better than people or this. But some people, it's say for instance, people love to say that all pastors is about money, that. And I'm like, shit, if you come say, this just not about money. But I've resigned myself in being very comfortable, with the few. I do get a few dollars here, and it's just a few. But I don't care because I didn't come to church for the church to take care of me. I came to church to give my God to God service. Now, I didn't know that I was a God back then. I know this. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was getting drunk all the time. I had stopped drugging by then, though. I used to drug. I used to just get drunk all the time, just stay drunk. And I just knew it had to be something different in life. You know, I just got to that moment where I just got tired. And so I started coming to church, and I just started coming. Now, to the building. Now, let me say, there was a whole lot of mess. But I wasn't here for that. I was here for me, getting me together. So I'm not focusing because, see, the church is not a place of the supreme. It's a hospital for the sick. Because the Bible tell you that. It said, I come for the sick, not for the saved. I come for the sinner, not for the saved. I come for the sick, not for the well. For those who is whole needs no physician. Now, it don't say that once we get whole, that we don't have a responsibility, but we don't need the hospital.
Right.
How many of us take up residence in the hospital just because? You know, most people hate to go to the hospital. So even your spiritual hospital. And so I pointed somebody the other day, I pointed something out the other day that to somebody about Matthew 11, 28 through 30, come to me, because they're going through a rough spot. And there's a spot that you can go when you're going through something, but you can't live there. You have to come back. That's why I was telling the guy yesterday, that's why they say the race is not given to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor the wealth to the wise. But to those who endure it. Endurance means that you go through something, that you ready to give up, because you feel like you done gave all you have, but you say, I got to go that extra. I got to go like those of us who wrestle with weight gain and all that stuff. You know, when you start getting on that thing, you're just trying to go, trying to get it done. And so, but with anything, most things. So we have to know when we step up, God stepped up. When we step out, God stepped out. You can't separate yourself from God. You know, because they've been telling us, see, they gave us stuff, but we never questioned it. And I always ask this question, but I never gotten an answer yet. What's the image and likeness of God? The image and likeness of God. They tell us that we made an image and likeness of God. When I look at you, Eunice, I'm sorry. You look a little different than me. Yeah, but how can we be, I'm male, you female. You sit here with your hair looking pretty, you cute. You have some things that I don't have going on over there. So how then can I say? And because this is important, because they don't put definition of term, and people more confused than they're educated.
Right.
So what is the image and likeness of God? That still remains to be a serious question.
I would say, as my Creator made you, He made me, and we both are in the image of God. We are all energy. So if we just live in this energy, just live it in a body. You take us out of the energy, out of the body, then we went back with God.
So, what you say, Charles?
Well, I look at it like this: is that my
I shade Deacon Barron.
My son.
Good piece. Thank you.
And my daughter, you can look and see a little bit of me and my ex-wife in us. Right. And there's a thinking pattern that's the same because we talk and think the same way. But beyond that, they're not us. They are our images. So I think the same thing passes through. For us, the spirituality of God is in us, like my DNA is in my children. But my DNA is in them. But that don't make no sense. So I think a lot of times we get caught up in this thing where we want to put a face to stuff, and they use certain words. I think those are some of the words that they use is to control us. instead of just saying, well, we are spiritually connected to God, and we have the spiritual image of God. You know, they say something a little bit different. They got to add their own little thing to it in order to control how we look at ourselves. You know, it goes back to me with the Jesus image, right? And they will quickly tell you, well, after this, that ain't the image, that ain't the description they got in the Bible. Well, that's not important. Well, why they put it in the Bible?
Well, why they changed it?
Yeah.
If it's not important.
And so we know that description is not it, but you got the whole country believing the guy, the blonde, the brown hair guy with the blue eyes is Jesus. So you control that image. Now, they don't really want to, you know, if they wear those images, they don't really want us to know what it truly is, because if we found out, then that, again, that's another door that they don't have to keep to that door anymore.
Right.
So you got to control that image. And so you can't just come out and say, well, we're going to do this research and say, well, this is what it is, this is the conclusion we're going to come up to, what the true image of God is. My guess is they don't even know either.
They don't know. Here's the deal.
Okay, I got one
Go
more
ahead,
thing.
Jonas.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
When I related what I feel, I'm stripping myself out of this shell I am.
Yeah. That's what you have to do. Because you deal.
Because to deal with my image of God. I know I have children and stuff. I know children, grandchildren, but I'm looking at the spiritual part of me, not the flesh.
But you're supposed to. But most people don't know that. See, most people are not spiritually mature enough to do that. Mm-hmm. And so then what happens with those people? Secondly, we always say, Father God, he. Where'd that come from? You can't find one spot, one place outside of this Bible that they put together that'll validate that. The Bible itself don't validate it. The Bible itself says that God is spirit, and those who worship God must worship God in spirit and in truth. When the white man came in and stole this from the African and took the power from the woman, the goddess, and put it on him, the man, and made pictures of himself. So that's why they tell you it's not important, because their pictures is not consistent with what's even in the Bible. And only a fool say that it don't matter. If you tell me, when I put my name on Facebook, Bernard Waters, about 20 people pull up. Some of them are white. You know, how in the heck it don't matter. Because if you talk about Bernard Waters and you pull up a white person, you daggone sure ain't talking about me. So for you to get an accurate description of who I am or who I was, you have to pull up who I am or who I was. Yeah. You can't pull up any Bernard Waters. So if a person lived on the earth as a human, I'd be darned if it don't matter. Yeah. It do matter. Only a slave say it don't matter. Now, you know why it don't matter? It don't matter because most people are slaves, and the slave master knows it's a lie already. And how in the heck, and I'm going to say this, how in the hell the Bible in Revelations 1:14 tell you what he said? That's where it's at in the Bible. Revelation 1:14. For his hair was as lamb's wool. His skin was as bronze as if it was fresh out of fire. Tell me who looked like that again? So, because that description don't match the pictures that they've been showing you all your life, then it don't matter. But you being a slave, you say it don't matter because you're too stupid to know better. But if the Bible gave a description, when the police come and is called to a crime, the first thing they try to do is put together the identity of the person that committed the crime. What they ask for?
Race, height, size.
A description.
Yeah.
So if you can't describe, again, if they say a 6'9" woman punched a man in the mouth and they arrest Eunice. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And they arrest Eunice. Come on, man. When are we going to wake up and see that we just been snowing, we've been had? Yeah. So it do matter, but nevertheless. So when he told her He done jumped all around.
Yeah.
He said, daughter, be of good comfort. Thy faith has made thee whole. Go in peace. In other words, you knowing where the foundation of faith is, or the foundation is, you've been made whole. Now, people say, all you had to do is touch the hem of the garment. She had to touch the hem, not the H-E-M, the H-I-M, is what it's saying. And so this is what the Bible said, where 2 or 3 come together, touching and agreeing.
Yeah.
Some power's supposed to be flowing, some things supposed to happen, but you have to be wise. Most people, this stuff don't work for because they're not doing it right. They're doing it as slaves.
Yeah.
They're not doing you have to be super stupid, not stupid, super stupid, to think that your enemy is going to give you something beneficial to you. They put this thing together as a trap. You're not even supposed to see where you free at. Again, things that I'm talking about that I saw, I was on the pulpit one day. Now, mind you, I probably have been speaking for maybe 15, 16 years, right? I probably have been speaking about 15 to 16 years before I saw that we wasn't the Gentiles. That just came. And I'm saying, wait a minute. I mean, the light bulb just went off. Like, wait a minute. Now, he was the apostle to the Gentiles, and he wrote to the Romans, to the Greek. Then in Acts, they tell me that the Africans went up to Greece to teach them the way of God. So that tells me that the way of God came from Africa up to Greece. But now the the Romans had the firepower, the war power. The Greeks had the thinking power. So that's why they teamed up with the Greek, because the Romans wasn't smart enough. The Romans wasn't smart enough to take over this thing. The Greek was, but the Romans had the firepower. So they killed their way in. They killed their way into ministry. Nothing, I know this don't sound right, but it's the truth. And like I said, everything I say could be validated, and if you could prove me to be wrong, I won't say it no more. But I know you can't, because I know what I'm saying is the truth. You know, I'm not sitting here for fame or fortune. I don't sit here with a support group that want to hear me say this. I just speak the truth. In fact, most people don't want to hear me say this because they're not used to getting this kind of truth. So the Romans had the firepower. The Greek had so-called the knowledge. So they teamed up, and then they created Christianity. Because remember, they tell you that in the Bible, and they were called Christians at Antioch. Now, not as a term endearment, oh, they Christians, they follow Christ. No, y'all stupid. Y'all follow that man who couldn't save himself. You know, it was commonly known as the way. That's why he said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. So that was the name of it. The way wasn't Christianity. Christianity is an organization that was formulated by your enemy, by your slave masters, by the Romans and the Greek, to take control of you as an African. And so then you think now that they had to lighten the load, you think that they're going to tell you, now, we've been raping your women for the last 189 years. We've been feeding your babies to alligators, and we've been feeding your women to alligators, lions, and just true stuff. Selling tickets in church to hang black men as we picnic outside in the courtyard. They used to sell tickets at church for the hanging of black people, and that was how they entertain. You tell me this people that I want to follow godly? Whatever God they have, I don't want it. Now, but you think now they're going to give you something that's equal, going to tell you, okay, you equal to me? Oh, we kindred spirits. Well, now some of them will tell you that because they know now they figure the annals of slavery is forgotten. But I'm just saying, think about who sold you this bill of this carton of steel cookies.
Yeah. I'll tell you, you remind me of something. September, my sister's going to get that Bible back. It's at the Charles Wright Museum that's in Detroit, the Black Museum.
We'll go get it.
Yeah.
I'll bring you to go get it.
And so they turn period is their lease period or whatever
Yeah.
is up in September.
I said that last week. So I'm gonna call you on that one. His family have a copy of a slave Bible, original copy of the slave Bible. Now let me show you what these good people that forced this religion onto our ancestors. They gave them a Bible with 14 books of the Old Testament, and half of that was taken out. Anything that told them they was equal, they was good in the sight of God, they took it out. Everything that was in there was to make them subservient, to make them a slave, continue in the slave. All they did is transfer enslavement from physical to mental. But whoever control the brain control the body, control everything.
So the man think it's so.
Yeah. So who else? If you go to China, they God gonna look like a Chinese. You go to Thailand, they God look like a Thai person.
Yeah.
You go to India, they God look like an Indian.
Yeah.
You go to Africa, they God look like a white man. Something wrong with that. Not everywhere in Africa.
Okay.
No better saying ones that
No, I'm
because
saying, I never been there, so I
yeah,
can't say.
no, but
you
the lot,
have,
but here's the deal. What the point that I'm making is the same people that brought you here, that brought our ancestors here, they took over there. So where I go, the country I was going, they still was controlled by the French too. So everything you see here, you see there. It's a French occupied situation. So they have the Roman Catholic Church. They walking around for Christmas with the white Jesus and Mary all made in their cloth fabric and their outfit, and it just disturbed me to no end. I was very disturbed by it, but so the same thing. But who else? Who let the people that raped the men, raped the children, did all that, educate the children, and then we say they tell them this? Did not teach them the truth. You really expect them to? Do you really expect them to? Do you really think that they want your children to be where their children are?
Nope.
Do you think that they want your children to know that they can succeed outside of them? That they don't need them to succeed? We did it before. Let me tell you, think about this. White man had everything. Everything. Education, money, everything. But Marcus Garvey flourished way better than they did. Black Wall Street flourished so good. Roosevelt, all these places that they had to go in and kill the people.
Yeah.
Not because they was like, see all this stuff you see now about black people, criminals. They created that shit. And now they can't handle it. But the black man was very, very skilled.
Yeah.
And they were very united, and they lived, and they flourished, and everybody took care of each other. They destroyed 90 to 95% of all black men that was home doing Jim Crow was successful businessmen. They put a fear in black people to succeed in business.
Right.
You talking some really evil people.
But just think about it. Let's take Black Wall Street, for instance, right? You don't want to have nothing to do with us.
Can I step out in the heat?
Yeah, you want to throw something on?
Doesn't matter.
Hold up. In that closet.
She might have something she could throw on. In my car, I have a jacket.
Oh,
No, what you were saying, Joe?
oh, this thing, like, you
Yeah,
don't-
I'll go get the jacket while you talk. You
Okay.
talk on.
Yeah. They don't want to have anything to do with us, right? Go on, do your own thing. We don't have no connection. So you got a black community, Black Wall Street and a number of others. They became successful, right? Your hatred is so bad that you want to go destroy them. Now they ain't bothering you. They get away from you.
Because they want to steal our job, our love.
Right.
Everything we have.
Yeah. Because you thought we could
You
survive.
said, well, they too humble.
We could survive without you. And so now you want to go destroy something that you said, well, we want to be separate. We don't want to be in the same thing with you. So I'm separate and being successful. You should be okay. Because we ain't got to touch your money. We ain't got to deal with you. But then that hatred thing comes in. And, and this is the same thing. That, the two things they want to control is our politics, which is theirs, but we honor that rule, and our spirituality and our mentality. So those two things,
Our culture too.
right? But mentality and spirituality controls our culture. And so, in order to, and I always say that they use the Bible, they use religion, and they use spirituality to make us retarded. Because see, now with that retardation, they can easily dictate because you don't think with a free mindset. And I hear a lot of people say, well, sometimes you got to think outside of the box. Ain't no damn box.
Right.
So
Well, the
when we say
box is the system that they put you in. The box is the enslavement system that they set up for you is considered the box.
And I tell people all the time, the best movie black people should look at, I don't care what it is that first Matrix one. Because that first Matrix one got people in there, you hook up to this system, to this robotic system, whatever, and they feeding you images like you're having a good life, or whatever it is, right? They're feeding you that image, but they're draining all your energy. That machine is running off your electrical impulses from your body. But you in a test tube thinking you actually living this life. Okay, same thing here, right? We run around here thinking we living a great life. Some of us, even the one with the one that doing all the what I would consider the bad things, the negative things, the system still feeds off of it.
Oh yeah.
You can. I asked a guy, can you tell me what person that bought $1 million house, right, and put him on the table and say, well, hey, listen, my house was built by, in the last 30 years, my house, I don't care if it's an athlete, entertainer, or just a person with wealth, was built by a black contractor. So you made all that money, but who is your money being spent at?
Yeah.
You hook up to that system, you think you're successful.
Right.
And my dad had a old saying, that, a lot of black men want to say, and the reason my dad would never sell his business, he said, well, listen, is that in order for me to be the head of my household, I got to be the one to write my paycheck. The man that writes your paycheck is the head of your household because you can only do what's in your household that paycheck you allowed you to.
Right.
Okay? And so the same thing applies to, for lack of a better term, the church. Okay? I can't be the ruler of my spirituality if I'm letting a religion entity determine what my spirituality is.
Right.
I ain't got no control over it because they're telling me what I should believe, how I should believe it. And if I say, well, I want to question this, then you tell me I should question the man of God.
Yeah.
Well,
Which
should I
is,
question?
no, that's foolish though, because the Bible says seeking you shall find,
Yeah.
knocking, the door shall be open, asking it shall be given to you. So if you can't answer the question, don't make the statement.
Right.
So, but, okay, so tie this back into what we was talking about with the woman with the issue of blood, because we done went all around. The woman with the issue of blood, her faith, and what do faith mean to you? Now, of course, the Bible says, for without faith it's impossible to please God. Then the Bible says that you have to have hope, faith, and love, but it say you could have faith to move mountains. You could have faith to move mountains, but if you have not love, you have nothing. So now it's saying that love is more important than faith. So is faith a temporary something? Or is faith, when he told her, go for thy faith has made you whole, is faith a temporary something? Or is it a temporary something to be made something permanent? Now, if it's to be made permanent, what's that process? How do I go about my faith being permanent? Not that I have to, every time I'm going through any little thing, I have to go through this whole ritualistic process to reconnect to God, but because I have now some type of relationship with God, and I know that the God, that I am a God, and the Most High created a big God lives inside of me. So then how do I, because the Most High created a big God live inside of me, do I then have to go through the rituals, or do I just have to disconnect inside of me? You remember what I told you when your day start off, if something seemed like it's going bad, you step out it, You get your mind right, you step back in it, you take control of your day. You determine your day. If your day start out, I'm telling you, I learned this myself because we all wake up and have that bad day. You can see when the day trying to be bad, but I didn't know what I had never known up until a few years ago, that I have the power to change that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's where your faith comes in at, right? See, we want to tie, God people want to tie faith into that belief and religion and all that, right? But, you got to say, hey, listen, I don't have the answers, but I know if I get up and do something, I can find the answer. And I think that faith is the courage to face the unknown, or the lack of knowledge of something to seek. A lot of us, hey, if we don't believe we can do it or believe it's possible, we just won't do anything about it. But yet, there's people actually doing those things all around.
Around, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So what makes them, like you said, we all, ain't nobody no better than one person ain't no better than the other. So why is somebody else able to do something? Like one guy said, well, he said, well, can you dunk a basketball? I said, yeah. And he's over, your old buck can dunk a basketball. I said, yeah, I might have to get a ladder to get up there, but I can dunk it.
Yeah.
The purpose is, can I dunk a basketball?
Right, that's the question.
Yeah, and I said, that's the end result. Now, my method may be different. I said, now, if you want to question my method, that's a different story. But my faith, based on my faith will tell me I can find solutions to whatever issue I have.
Keep
You know what I'm saying?
Keep on, like you said,
Yeah.
seek and
And
you can find.
I don't worry about, the failures, because failure is just an opportunity to get better.
If you said phase,
Failure.
Okay,
failure.
so here we go. So,
Failure. You were trying to say failure.
Failure.
Okay, gotcha.
Deacon Barrett putting some stuff.
Yeah.
He's going through history class, and he putting some stuff on the first European and stuff that we had kind of briefed over. So he told her, "Go for thy faith that made thee whole." And so when you try to tell people, it's your faith, okay? It's your faith. Everything is based on faith, they say. But now, I'm at a point in my life, I say, I don't have faith and I don't believe in God. I don't do that no more. Neither one of those things is relevant to me in the stage of life I'm in now. I don't have faith and I don't believe in God. Neither one of them two. For what?
You saying that's what you saying today?
I'm telling you, that's how I am right now, today.
Today.
This
Okay.
second, right now.
Right now, okay?
Yeah, I don't believe in God and I don't have faith.
Well, because the God thing I got, because if God is neither male or female, but we put a male connotation to God. When we use the word God, God is male. Goddess is female, right?
So you believe God's a female?
God is the God of the earth and the air was a female.
No, I'm not. I'm talking to you.
What I'm saying, I believe in a higher power.
Okay. No. I'm saying with the word female. Because you know why I say she's a female? Because men can only think women one way. Women go all the way around everything.
Oh, yeah.
So I believe she's a God's
Well,
female.
but it's the proven fact that when the white man came into this and stole it, that they changed it from the woman because the woman's the giver of life.
Yeah.
Like I told you earlier, your stomach was your children's heaven.
Yeah.
The whole
Right.
concept of heaven is a birth coming through you.
Right.
A man plant a seed in you. You incubate it, feed it, nurture it, protect it. Then it comes through your birth canal. When they say you was in heaven, you left heaven and came to the earth. You left your mama's stomach, which was your heaven, and you came into the earth.
Right.
Now let me just give some explanation to what I mean when I say I don't have faith and I don't believe in God.
I was going to answer that next.
Now, I've been through so much in this walk, and God have showed up and showed out so many times, I don't have to believe no more. I don't have to have faith, I know.
Oh, yes. Okay,
So I live my life from a more mature perspective. See, I know who God is in my life. I know who I am in God. I do know that the Most High Creator God never took on agenda. So when you say He, you're misrepresenting God, because God said God was a spirit.
Right.
Those who worship God in spirit and in truth. So when you talk about that, now we hear about love, we hear about spirit. So the image of God is love, and the likeness of God is spirit. And so, but they never taught us that. So when they tell you have to love and spirit, but then they tell you He, God is not a He. God ain't never took on a gender. It's an energy flow. Now,
Right.
the woman, why you think they call the earth Mother Earth and nature Mother Nature? Because, but it used to call God is earth and God is nature. But then when the white man came in, he took that away and he made y'all women. That's why the white man made the first sin come through a woman, so they say, and everything bad, Charlie brought that up earlier, everything bad come through a woman, because what they was doing is they was stealing your identity from you. They was replacing you with them, so they had to make you bad and make them good. But then who we see, if it wasn't for women, you wouldn't have a church. It's women that hold the church up. It's women that the black woman is the only human being on the planet that can produce any living thing and a human on the planet. The black. All this is DNA proven. Whether you agree with me or not, I don't care. But you can't prove me wrong. It's factual. So when you look at these things, you have the black woman, and the black woman being the only one able to do anything. That right there tell you who she is. But your slave mind might not let that be. But any common sense, any little bit of common sense will tell you. So they tell you faith don't make sense, but it make miracles. That's stupid. Her faith she knew that her healing was there, so she went there. She ain't go, listen to this, she ain't go to the nightclub and touch the hem of somebody's garment at the nightclub.
She didn't go to synagogue either.
She used her common sense. She went where they say stuff was happening. Yeah. People was being healed. People was being made whole. That made sense. So her faith made sense. Yeah. So that old stuff that faith don't make sense, that's foolishness. Don't listen to that crap. Faith, things in God have to make sense. God, when they say that, they claim that 5,000 was fed. But the first thing they say that was said is put them in order. Put them in groups of 50s and 100s. Establish some order. God is a God of order. Right. When you put order together, then you work it in God. So God is a God of order. Once they got the order together, then the hand of God started moving. But that's why they say God is not the author of confusion. The Bible said the devil is the father of lies and author of deceit. So what people do, people have fallen for. If you look in chapter 4 of Matthew, and it's the so-called devil that offers stuff and things. So all these people that's bragging about all the stuff and things they have, well, who offered that? Mm-hmm. Now, do I think that people shouldn't have? That's foolish. I would be stupid to think that people shouldn't have. Because if I don't have, how am I help? Mm-hmm. I can't help with something I don't have. Right. So we saw last week in Leviticus where God said in Leviticus 19:9, where he told them, when you go to harvest your fields, leave what gleam, what fell to the ground in the corners. And for two reasons, what they were. Well, y'all don't know, y'all wasn't here. But the two reasons are for the poor that live in the city, so they have some need, and for the strangers that's passing through, that they have something if they're hungry. So God made provisions for everybody to have, but greed stopped people from having. And so these people that's promoting all this stuff, that's promoting all this greed, and that's making it okay, is not of the God of the Bible. Now, they might be of a God, Because remember, the Bible never, another big lie that we was told that there ain't but one God. The Bible don't say that. That's stupid. Jesus told the Pharisees himself, Yeshua, Haru, whatever you call him, said himself, contrary to that.
Yeah.
He says, he told the Pharisees, when you refer to Psalms 82 and 6, isn't it written in your, that you are God? He told them, isn't it written in your law that you are God? Don't your law say, the law that you say you hold and be whole, doesn't it say that you are gods? And so, but you're not taught that. So when people start telling you you're God, then you think they're crazy. Then you think that, but the Bible, the same Bible that you say you love, the same Bible that you profess that every dot and tittle is the word of God, which I don't believe at all, but nevertheless, if that's your profession, then it tells you something and you say it don't make a difference. That's slave. because the God in that same Leviticus 19 and verse 2, and he said, God told Moses, he said, and tell the people, I, the Lord thy God, is holy, so are they holy. Then in Luke and Matthew, he says that I am righteous, so are they righteous. So you are holy and righteous, but they tell you you're not. They tell you you're filthy rag. They tell you not this. You ain't no good. You ain't this. But the Bible don't tell you that. So they take your focus off what God really tells you. So that's why God says in Jeremiah 31, 31 and 34, that I'm going to reveal myself to you, myself, from the least to the greatest. No longer do you have to hear about me from your brother, your friend, but I'm going to show you me. Show you me, because they misrepresent me. So if you don't know that you're worthy of that, if you don't know that and then also it says that, and I'm going to forgive you he said, and I'm going to forgive you your sins, and I'm going to remember your iniquities no more. There are people that say that the blood of Jesus washed away all the sins, past, present, and future, but they still say that they got stuff they done that can't be forgiven for. Really? So the more I listen, the more confused I become. But mind you, I used to be there. But let me tell you something. When they say a mind is a terrible thing to waste, that's real. And a mind in the hands of the wrong person can be very destructive.
Yeah. And I'm on the West Bank, right? And you know when you get ready to come back over
Really
here,
right.
That travel route, those routes you travel to come back across that bridge, is the perfect example for me for that, for how they use the Bible. Like, you know, when you're coming down like a service road, they'll tell you, you're coming across the thing, the bear to the left, they get on the bridge. But if you go on to the other side of it, they tell you to make a left turn. Now, they both on the left side.
Right.
Okay, so they got you think you're going left, but if they tell you to bear to the left, right, and when you know you got to make a left turn, you're going to end up back over here in New Orleans.
Right, exactly.
You're going to miss your whole journey where you want to go to, because they gave you just enough to keep you, like you said earlier, they gave you just enough to keep you under control.
Look, Charlie, I preached here, over 15 years. And a lot of this stuff, I was hook, line, and sinker on. And I told y'all, God started sending people to me, telling me get away from the crowd, blah. And then my eyes just started opening. All this stuff I just started seeing so differently and so clearly. And then of course I do other stuff looking outside of that. And I'm like, man, when you allow other people to think for you, you are a time bomb waiting to explode. Look at that. So let's use as example the young man that fool used in the DC sniper case. And he took that baby. That's all that boy was, as a baby. He took that baby and ruined his life for his own self-centeredness. Okay, you don't care to live. Now you dead. This boy got to live in prison for the rest of his life. Now, mind you, now if he was a young white child, they would have found a way to help him.
Right.
But mind you, but when you when someone control your brain, and we all know this,
Yeah.
you're not in power. He done took this baby and had this baby involved in this stuff, and now he's locked up forever. But again, a mind. Now, after he got caught and went to jail, then he started seeing how brainwashed he was. This kid come from a lost home. So a lot of young people that's in crime and illegal activity and stuff come from that type of environment.
Right.
And so it's the norm for them. And if they're not shown something different, if the church, the so-called churches got their head all booked up, like the woman, with the blood, she wasn't supposed to be out there, so they would have stoned her if it wasn't for Jesus. So the church is so busy stoning people, they're not saving people.
Right.
But they were supposed to be called to save. But you not saved. See, when you call yourself saved into a church, what you did is transfer from one slave master to another. Until you find God for yourself and you begin to know who God is, and then you begin to let God show you. Because let me tell you, the Bible tells us very clearly in John 14:26 the purpose of the Holy Spirit. And most of that stuff that these crooks put on the Holy Spirit is just not what God said, not the God of the Bible, not the God they created.
Yeah.
That's the one say that, and the Jesus they create. But the God of the Bible, the Jesus, Yeshua, the Horus of the Bible, says different. It says that in the Comforter, the Holy Spirit, the Comforter, 1, to comfort you. 2, it's going to teach you. 3, it's going to keep in remembrance of all that God, that Christ have taught. That's it. So all that other stuff, let me tell you something. A church is a distribution center to see that people have the basic necessities of life. It's not the church job to find a woman a husband. And actually, in the Jewish tradition, it's the father's job to find a wife for his son. That's why he had to bring him to his bar mitzvah. He have to bring him. He have to do that. He have to teach him a trade, because he need a trade to work to take care of his family. And the third obligation, the third obligation is to find him a wife. Well, it's funny with Jesus, Yeshua, Horus, whatever you want to call him, that you see the first two, but he mysteriously disappear for the other one, so that they can keep. He didn't disappear. You can't write out 18 years of somebody's life. You can hide out 18 years of somebody's life because you don't want that part of the story told, but you can't just dismiss 18 years. Really? So that right there, because now I'm a thinking man. I'm a thinking man now, because God said, as a man think, so are they. So now I'm a godly man, so I'm thinking now. And I'm thinking godly. And as a man think in his heart, so is he. And the Bible says that good and evil can't dwell in the same place. And God says, my desire to live in the heart of man. So if God live in my heart as I think, so am I. So if God is in my heart, I have to think godly for the two to match and for it to come out. So as I think, so am I. You see? As I speak. That's why it says, not will go in the mouth that defile you, it's that will go in and come out from the bottom. But it's that come out, for that come out come from the heart. It's supposed to be the dwelling place of God. Where God says that you have to seek me, find me. And then the Bible also says, seek the Lord while he yet could be found. You have to work while it's day, for when night comes, no man can work. So all these things is evidential of you've been took, that you have to. Even the Apostle Paul, if you look at Paul's beginning writings, he write like an immature person. Right. With all that slave serving, all that was done away with, supposedly with the New Testament, with the New Covenant. You're not a slave, you're not a servant, you're children. And John, it said, for those who believe, no longer are they servants, but now they are children of the Most High God. The Bible tell you that. So, but they just skip over those things. So when you start thinking, now you put practical application together. Now you're thinking practically. Now God God major concern is God's people. God's concern is not that I get another car, because the car that I have is sufficient. God's concern is not that I get a bigger house, because the house that I live in is sufficient. I want a bigger house, and I'm going to get me one, but that don't have nothing to do with God. So when I get there, I'm not, oh, God bless me without. No, I'll bless me without, because I went and got it. You say, now this, oh, but God gave it to you. No, God gave me the ability to know what I can achieve. And if I don't put it to action, then nothing will happen with it. I have to put some skin in the game. See, God is not welfare. God is not. Boy, I told that white boy yesterday that God is a socialist. Boy, they don't like that, I said, God's a socialist. And he said, I said, I'm going to prove it to you. And I said, God is a socialist because the church is the one place where everyone is supposed to be looked at equally. There's not supposed to be no high and low in the church. They're not supposed to be better and no worse and all that foolishness. They're supposed to be one people, God's people, and all taken care of the same. So that's social. That's socialized thinking. You see, but they don't want that. They have to be in control. But now, okay, I quit here. Okay, let's, if we look right quick, let's go to Hebrews. Turn to Hebrews, because we want to deal with that faith. He told her, go because your faith has made you whole. But then we can go in the Bible 11. We could go in the Bible and then it'll say, he says, it's not by faith that you are saved. No, it's by faith that you're saved, not by your work. Because it was by your works, it'll be in and of yourself. So me and the man had a nice talk about that. I said, yeah, what Paul was doing, because people say that Paul and James wrote contrary to each other. They didn't. It's not opposing. You have to put it in perspective. You have to put it in the proper perspective. You have to use it, I forget the word that I'm trying to use. But you have to, so the two, Paul is saying, don't think that it's you, but it's God. And James saying, now once you find out that it's God, you got to go to work. Because this level of faith is going to put you to work. What the work is to do the will of God.
Right.
Not to go out there like putting all this money up so your pastor can have a... Wait, let me tell you. See, they make this thing, I'm going to say this and I'm going to get back here. They make all this stuff about the pastor getting into everything, got to go to the pastor. That's demonic. That's the devil. That's devil worship when you do that. It's not God worship. Back in the days, man, when they were bringing the priests food and everything, the priests nobody had no money. So it wasn't about money. It was about the basic necessities of life. I mean, some people had money, but the most didn't. And most of the poor people gravitated to this because they had some help. They came together and helped each other. So it wasn't so much about money as it was about family, togetherness, oneness, village. And so the priests, the Levitical priesthood, God told them not to work. But their work was to take care of his people spiritually. And for that, he told the people, now you have to share some of what you have with the priests. Because a man don't work, you don't eat. So the priest's work was to keep y'all together spiritually. His reward was that when you slaughter something, you bring a portion to him so he have some meat. And now it didn't multiply into all this greed with airplanes, cars, houses. That's not what it was, y'all. It was simply because he didn't have a job, they didn't have no money for the man to eat. And for him to have a place to stay.
And he had to be on call.
But his job was for him to have a place to stay and stuff. So he couldn't do ministry and stuff and not have a job and live. So those who, that's his job to do the spiritual thing. Your job is to ensure that he eat and have the basic necessities of life. That's what it was. Again, a church is simply a distribution, the the church house, because the people of the church, we know we have to get that. See how we say about terminology, you have to get it till you get it. So the building is a distribution centers where, if you look in Acts 4 and 5, it says that people brought stuff to the feet of the apostles. The have brought to the feet of the apostles, that they would distribute it to the have-nots. That's the purpose of the church. They have made this stuff here don't reflect nowhere near God's text. But anyway, so and that, with that being said, that's why I say I went through 2 years. I went out on disability at 33. At 35, I got it. I got workman's comp for a year. For a whole year, I didn't get nothing. It was tight. But the Bible said, I'll never see the righteous forsaken, nor my seed beg for bread. Never got evicted, never got nothing turned off, never went one day without eating. Things was tight, but God took care of us. This is why I say I don't have faith, I don't believe, I know.
At a certain point, you know.
Yeah, you know. So you know how faith and belief is for those crossing over, coming into. Once you mature and you start maturing in God, you don't have to keep going back to level 1. It just don't make sense.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, you don't have to
Level
keep
one.
going back to level 1, because you did now, and that's now then when some more maturity, because the Apostle Paul started out. But then he started out saying, now you have to work out your own soul salvation. Your salvation is between you and God. Paul even said that. But that stuff don't get preached. Because they want you to believe that the only way you can find any kind of salvation is through them.
Yeah.
And that's just not so. So here in Hebrews 11 and 1.
11 and 1 right here.
11 and 1.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, Eunice, you can read it.
Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Right. Okay. Now, read verse 6.
Okay. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to the God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him.
Now, that show you right there. That's for people that's just starting on a journey. When you first start on this journey, you have what's called carnality.
Right.
You're carnal-minded. Carnal-minded means you got one foot on both sides. In other words, because we are creatures of habit, we hold on to that we know, because that's what we know. So if this what I'm going into, if it don't work out, I can always go back to that I know.
Right.
But people that don't want to return back to what they know, when something fails, they commit suicide or they do this or that. But they don't tough it out. But we come from a tough space, so we can tough it out. So this is a beginning journey. He says here, who believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Well, once you've been rewarded several times, like you don't have to marry your wife every year for her to still be your wife.
Yeah.
You know, when your husband wake up, he know you his wife. You see, yeah, I mean, people renew their vows, but they, like this sick woman that was on Basketball Wives, her husband renew their vows every year. That's sick to me. That's foolishness. But I'm saying average people don't do things that once you marry her, she become your wife. Once you become saved in God, then God becomes the author and finisher of your faith. Mm-hmm. So then why you have to keep returning back to that? God wants you to move on, grow, so that you could go out and do the work.
Right.
Yeah, you remind me of something I say quite a bit, right? The Bible don't say my people are perished for lack of faith. It says lack of knowledge. Knowledge means I know. So there's certain things the way I ain't gotta have faith in that.
No.
I know
already. See, I know what God can do, because God have done it so many times in my life. So I'm not at level 1 no more.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm moving on up. Right. You know, but again, I keep telling y'all that years of preaching something one way, one day God just showed me. Just open up, and I say, well, I'll be darned. just see something different right now. Like, so I don't write stuff down. So I get up there and something that come new to me that I had never thought about before. And sometimes I have to say, well, look, I spoke like this on this subject last time or last 5 times, but this time God showed me this. And so I know how God operates. But I point this chapter 11. This is what we see in verse 1 is called the biblical definition of faith. Verse 6 is in verse 6, that's telling you, so without faith, you can't please God. That ain't happening, right?
Right.
Now, if you look in the 11th chapter, I like to point that out. Now he says, they say by faith, Cain, go from Cain and Abel.
So we get my 4.
No, all the way down, go from Cain and Abel, all the way down to Rahab and Gideon and Samson and Barak and all these people.
Okay, you see 11. You talking about you read through the
Yeah,
book.
but it tells you about all these great people
I see
who.
Samson, Barak.
Yeah, but it tells you about all these great people who everybody want to be like.
Right.
Right? People say, I want to be like David. I want to be like Solomon. I saw something the other day. I want to be like David here, Solomon here. That's foolishness. The best you can be is being you. You can't be like nobody. Let me show you how stupid it is to say that. But again, as slaves, we're taught to think that way because we're never good enough. The next person is always better than us. Now look at chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. Read that, Eunice. Chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. Read that. I'm about to show y'all something.
Everybody ready yet?
Mm-hmm.
Wherefore, seeking we also are compassing about with so great a cloud of witness.
Say that again. Read that loud.
Wherefore, seeking,
No.
Wherefore, seeing, excuse me, we are also, I'm going to start all again. Wherefore, seeing, we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witness. Let us lay aside every weight and the sin which do it so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith.
Okay, the point that I was making is that it says, so great a cloud of witnesses are they. So when you saying that you want to be like them, you already are. Mm-hmm. Because you're called to be a witness for God. Mm-hmm. So none of them people was no different from you. In fact, you have something they didn't have. You have something supposedly in the new covenant that they desired to have. You know what that is?
What? Forgiveness of sin? What is it?
Yeah, you're close. They had God with them. We're supposed to have God in us.
Oh, okay.
See, that's the difference. So that's why they had to always look back and reach back and reconnect. And that was bringing animals to the altar, which God said he never told nobody to bring an animal to the altar. They thought, because see, supposedly committing a sin is punishable by death. So supposedly the animal gave up their life, a life for a life. For you, but it wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough, so every time you sin, you had to go back. So supposedly Jesus fixed all that. Right. So they're saying that all these people that you admire and you think so great, you them already. It says, but looking into Jesus, Yahshua, Haru, who is the author and finisher of faith, that's where your focus need to be. And when you start focusing on them and stop focusing on other people, then you can become the best you that God created you to be. But until you focus on you, then you'll never be the best you could be, because your best in your belief is through someone else. Do you know there are people sitting here still waiting for their pastor to tell them what God has for them? Yeah. Really? What kind of relation? Didn't I just tell y'all that John 14:26 tell you that the Holy Spirit, that's the Holy Spirit job? That's what it's here for?
Yeah. That's part of the training. Cause see, it's two things, like you said, God, when you mentioned that thing that you had, and God blessed you with this, when you said that, no, I actually went out and got it. We don't take responsibility for our actions.
Right.
If we do something that's good and productive, okay, God did this for me. Never mind that I got up and done did it.
Right.
If something go bad and you do something bad, well, that wasn't my fault. The devil made me do it. No, you gotta take ownership of what you do.
Yeah.
Right.
And so by not taking that ownership on either end, it still inhibits you. It still make you,
That's why you can't maximize your potential.
Right.
Because you last night something, and I put on there that you have to do introspection. You have to look inside yourself and fix you, or you'll never be the best you could be. And as long as you refuse to embrace that ideology, you'll never know who you are in God. People that live on Section 8 food stamp welfare their whole life, they never know who they could have became.
Yeah.
No.
They never know who they could have
Because they
became.
lie on the
Now,
system.
what we do know is people that have lived on food stamp welfare and Section 8 have become great people. What's her name? Carol. Back in the days, Diane Carroll or something.
Carroll.
One of them. She lived on food stamp stuff. She admitted it. Iyanla Vanzant, a lot of people. I mean, it's not no home, but the thing is, it's not a lifestyle. It's not a way of life. Because because they tell you can't be nothing. You are our slave. You can't have no money in the bank. You can't have a car. You can't have this. You can't do this. You can't have a man. You can't, you see what I'm saying? You got children, but you can't have a man. So, which is off balance in God's plan. So if you're doing all this stuff, then if that's happening, then if you're not in control of your life, then you're not in control of your destiny. Mm-hmm. If you're not in control of your destiny, can God use you? Because see, when and I'm gonna close here, when the disciples chose the so-called 6 deacons, they supposedly chose people that had shown, listen to this, not people that were sitting on the couch drinking and smoking herb. Not that they couldn't have been doing that and got it, because the Bible don't speak against none of that. But they showed people that was doing something. These people, that's why they say you are men of good rapport. See, they were showing the example of the capabilities of fulfilling the office before they got the appointment. Mm-hmm. That's how they were selected. They weren't selected because they knew them. They weren't selected because there was male. They weren't selected because of that. They were selected because they showed an example of being qualified to hold a position. Mm-hmm. Can you show an example to be qualified to hold a position? And if you can't today, can you tomorrow? Because God is a God that dare not lie. And that God says, I'm going to be with you always, even to the end of all time. So if you work while it's day, because when night come, no man can work, that means that you can get it together while it's still day for you. Right. So this is not intended to beat you up. This is intended to enlighten you to know. Because let me tell you, just still to today, people don't think that I should be doing this. People think this. If you're going where people think, you'll never succeed. Mm-hmm. But those naysayers are still standing in the nay corner and not in 4XL beyond them. And I never was competing with them. I was just doing what God had for me to do. And so God made ways for me. Like I told y'all, when I went to get that 37 acres, I went look for 5. I paid for 8 and got 29 for free. I swear that's the truth. The real estate agent said, I'd never seen this before. This lady was in her 60s. She said, it's the first time I ever seen this.
But that's what God had.
Yeah, that's what I told her. And so she said, I don't understand about you. Everything you ask for, you get. I said, Pat, because I don't ask for nothing unreasonable. I said, it's the Most High. Well, she white. She said, if that's what you say, I said, that's what I know. I know it's the Most High. Again, I don't believe it's the Most High. I didn't say that's what I believe. I didn't say because I have faith. I said, I know it's the Most High. So I don't need faith no more. I don't have to believe. I know.
You know.
So believing and faith is for newcomers. And then once you start getting in and you start seeing, because sometimes even after 20 years of doing this, I'm still surprised sometimes of what God do. I'm serious. And I be like, and I shouldn't be, but I am. You know what I mean? Because you speak it, you tell people, you want them to have hope in it and know that. And you know me, I don't feed people bull crap. I speak, Eunice, I'm going to say this and I'm going to close
I met
it.
you 3 years ago. Came through another person that we we bumped into each other a couple of times on the street. But I know one thing, I like you from the first time I met you.
Thank you. I try to be me. I try to introduce you to who I am. Not no fake and phony. But I tell you, God is good. And like people, you know, you have people that, all this, you have people that debate everything you do. And like I tell people, I don't believe in religion. Religion ain't nothing but a form of enslavement. I don't care which one you're in. I don't care which one, which how. If you just not dealing with spirituality, and spirituality will cause you, anyone that's doing good to the planet, you can embrace and invite. Now, the Bible tell you that in Hebrews. It tells you, the Bible tells you that, no, he says that I have other sheep that's not of this fold. Right. So you don't know who that is, but anyway, they tell you, the slave camp tell you something. But I know this beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I tell people this, if this is not right, it was right for me. I know the life that I was living. I was on drugs. I used to smoke crack cocaine. I used to snort cocaine. Now, when I went home, I hated cocaine. In fact, cocaine was known as a rich man high when I went home. By the time I came back, it was on the corner. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what you mean, $10 bag of cocaine? You know, that used to be just a birthday treat or something. You know, it wasn't no everyday thing, but these people brought all this in to wipe us out. So I look at that. I was on drugs. I was an alcoholic. I smoked cigarettes since 12 years old. I gambled, all that. Like women, 4.5 for the 5. I'm good on. I don't, you know, I rarely drink. This is the first time in my life I'm a social drinker. I can drink a drink or so, and that's it. You know, I don't have to. I'm not a lush. Right. I don't gamble. I ain't gambled in a long time, and I don't want to gamble because when I get ready to quit, I want to walk away. I don't do them kind of drugs. I don't do no hard drugs or nothing. What else? Oh, cigarettes. God took the cigarettes out of my mouth. Now the other thing, I'm halfway on that. I ain't all the way on that. You know, I mean,
need that to relax your mind.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you know, but God is good. So I know, but I used to think that, I quit smoking, I quit this. But I see, when I start looking back at my life, and I see the pattern, and I see it was God preparing me all the time. Now, mind you, I never thought I would be in ministry. I never thought that. I didn't pursue ministry. Ministry pursued me. But I never thought, but I was being prepared. But I told you I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. Yeah. So, boom, I stopped drinking. December 20, 1993. To taste this, I just had to stop. It was just time. So it was God taking the taste away from me. Again, I stopped drinking December 29th. I know God stopped me from drinking. Because I didn't wake up that day, say I'm going to stop drinking. That day I was fed up. I drank 2 beers and I was drunk. And I'm like, I can't drink 2 beers. This ain't for me no more. God took it. That was December 20, 1993. February 15, 1994 is the last time I put a cigarette in my mouth. February 15, 1994. Now, mind you, I smoked for 20 years and I was only 32 when I stopped. But I smoked for 20 years. Took it out, go back and nothing. From that day to this day, I hadn't put a cigarette in my mouth. But I prepared myself for it. The whole year. I changed all the habits I started. When people say they can't stop smoking, that's not true. All the habits you created, break them. Yep. Break them one at a time. That's what I done. Like when you finish eating, don't smoke. Don't smoke when you finish eating, smoke an hour later. Then now when you finish eating, you're not going to need a cigarette because the hour is a long time. You go sit down and use the bathroom, don't bring a cigarette with you. These things that we created and we find comfort in, and until we fix it here, we have that issue. We got to fight with it. So that's why I say I know what God done, and God was preparing me for this work that I'm doing. But one thing about me, Eunice, if you come back here or not, if I speak it, I live it. If I don't live it, I don't speak it. I don't bash people. I speak what I believe is the truth, but I don't measure people by my life. God don't tell me to measure people by my life because right now I'm good.
Look over Pernature.
Yeah.
If you did, I would have known because you would have been
Right.
Say, oh God, when you come to
Yeah,
the church,
no.
will he seriously? Sometimes he don't mention it.
Yeah.
Or we'll talk on the
Yeah.
phone. Then I say, I'm coming. And I took the phone one day. I said, Bernard, that's what I
Sure
called you.
did.
Today. I said, God told me to call you last week, but I
Right.
didn't call you.
That's
I
right.
said, but I want to come and visit church. But I had just left the church.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff was still sitting in here. And I met you.
Don't I tell y'all that I don't beat people? It's here. They gonna come if they want to come. You beat people up, they ain't coming.
When I met you, and I told you that I'm getting away from the church because what I believe in and what I know is not in the church.
It's not in them churches. But very few churches you're going to find, but you'll find it here because we're about the truth here. And we seeking true truth here. We don't want to be slaves no more. And God didn't call you to be a slave. God called you to be a child, a son or daughter. And God don't want to see you. Why would God says that? Why would one of the most popular scriptures that we hear, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, for those who believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. The next verse. For he sent his son not into the world to destroy, but that it might be saved. Notice they don't never bring that one in. That's 16 and 17. So, because that'll destroy their whole thing that God, you're going to hell and all that. If God sent his son not into the world that you'll be destroyed, but that you might be saved. They don't want you to know that. But then when you say, I'm 58, Charlie's 61, if you don't have to, if you don't want to.
I'm proud of my age. I'm supposed to be 62 next month.
All right, 62. Charlie just made 61.
I'll be 62 next
See that? See that? So we've been on here. We've been,
61?
but we've been on the planet.
Something about life.
Yeah, I've been had a hard life.
Yeah.
I'm way older than you.
No, you don't.
Yeah,
No,
but-
you don't.
but-
No, you
but-
don't.
but-
That's how we look at
Yeah,
ourselves.
but the
You don't.
point that I'm making is that we've been on the planet all this time, and a lot of things about ourselves we wasn't comfortable with because people told us we shouldn't be, opposed to teaching us to embrace who we are, where we are, that we might be better, be made better. But God, let me tell you something. God said, I never see the righteous forsaken, nor my seed beg for bread. Believe that. I lived it. I know it's true.
I know it's true.
I know it's true, so don't believe it, know it. Live it. Yeah, so anyway, with this I close. God is my all in all, as they say. But I have to have a conception of God that is based on more realism than the perception of the God that they painted for us. That's impossible to exist. That's why they talk about the 10 Commandments, that you can't keep the law. Well, if they would have kept it in its original form, wait a minute. No, if they got a point, but they didn't keep it in its original form because it wasn't a law. They called it the law, but it said, I will not. I will not. I will not. We read it.
Right.
They call it the 42 laws of the Maya, where the 10 Commandments come from. Then we see the 42 divine principles. At night, it said, I have not committed sin. It wasn't just that we was made conscious. I say when I wake up in the morning, I will not, and then at night I could come back and follow the same list of 42, a different one, and say, I have not committed sin. I have not committed robbery or violence. I have not stolen.
Right.
See, I end my day. So what was I commanded by God? No. So the white man put them commands in for you to worship him. But this is supposed to be about self-governance. Where self-governance, where you know right from wrong. We adults.
Right,
We
come
know
on.
right from wrong. So just do what's right. I am not deceitful. I have not stolen anyone's land. Who can? The people can't say that. Everywhere they go, they steal land. But they say look, I have not carried away food.
They can't say that.
You see? So the things that I have not polluted myself. Come on. But so when our minds and brains and stuff is polluted, and that's why I told a young man that yesterday in the prison, I was telling them, and they're Muslim, I said, brother, you have to deprogram and reprogram. And the guy just found that to be so enlightening to him because before when I was leaving, he said, man, say that one more time. I said, deprogram and reprogram. He said, man, thank you so much. Now in Angola, in a big state penitentiary, the hardest, used to be the worst penitentiary in the country. And this guy, that stuff I was saying, it caught his attention. Yeah, but because people tired of being lied to. So anyway,
But I'll say this here. In what year that was? 89. That's my witness. I was out there smoking that crack too.
what?
Well, yeah.
See that?
And I
See-
told my
see
baby,
that?
I got up, I took my baby, my dog, my sister, and my daughter. I said, God, this is not me.
Yeah.
Got my Bible, and fell on my knees. I said, God, I said, the devil came on me. I said, I want it gone. Sure does something from the top of my head to the sole of my feet. And after that, I went and got a job. Met
See
my
that?
husband.
See? Kindred spirit. We had kindred spirits and didn't even know. See that?
I'm telling you, it was the best feeling I ever felt in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people could understand, like you said, people who was doing it. I didn't stop associating with them. Let them see me.
My
Come
deep.
by and say, you want some? I said, no, I'm delivered.
Right.
I'm
Let me
delivered.
tell you what happened. That's the same thing happened to me. 3 months I didn't go around. I stayed home. So then I said, okay, I feel strong enough. I'm going to go back in area. The first person I saw, hey, bro, I got 5. So I supposed to say, I got 5. We're going to get a dime, split it, we smoking. I said, bro, I don't smoke no more. Oh, man, come on, bro. You know. I said, bro, I don't smoke no more. I said, you haven't been seeing me, right? I said, when the last time you saw me? He said, it's been a while. I said, that's why. I stopped. All right, then, bro. I'll let you later. See, once I really was serious, I stopped. He ain't got nothing for me no more. I don't have nothing for him because what he's doing, I don't want to do that. So what I did, I bought a 20-cent rock, a pipe in Showboro. I ain't get out there in the street like they make this big show break, and I ain't do all that. So I went home and I smoked that by myself. And because it had been 90 days, I saw how I felt. I said, damn, this is what I was running behind? I hadn't put that to my mouth since then. But God just showed you how things happen. So anyway, yeah, I'm thinking Barry, right what the deviation was, but we deviate though. So good, and thank you for your input. Brother Willie Rice, man, how you doing, Rice? What's happening, brother? Thanks for coming on. Yeah, but you can figure. Michael Robinson, thank you, brother, for coming on. Jerry Caesar, thank you, my brother, for coming on. Elizabeth, thank you, sister-in-law, for coming on.
That's the only thing that I'm really bad.
Derek Guy, my nephew, thank you, sir. Sterling, thank you. Sunshine, thank you. Elsa, thank you. Nettie, thank y'all for coming on. I hope someone would say that was beneficial, but if someone would say that was somewhat inconsistent or inaccurate to you, then hit me up and we could discuss it, not debate, but discuss. God bless, God keep this true in my prayer. Assalamu alaikum, Ashe, peace, namaste. Bye-bye.